Well, the action is about to begin. The second test match of the all too short series between South Africa and the West Indies. But the length of these series, how these series are created, whether it be 2 tests, 3 tests, 5 tests, 4 tests, that's a discussion in itself for another day. What we are concerned about now, Philo Wallace, as we go into test number 2. What are your thoughts as West Indies take on South Africa? There are those who believe that the draw in the first test was earned through the weather. There are those who may believe it was a combination of the weather and the West Indies. And if you listen to the captain, Craig Brathwaite, you would believe that it was earned by the West Indies and the weather had nothing to do with it. So test number 2 is on the horizon. What are your thoughts?
Thanks for having me on the program yet again. Well, the second and final test soon start. I thought the first test match in Trinidad, I thought the surface, the pitch had a lot to do with the outcome of that test match. The first day was lost to rain, very minimum cricket, maybe 15 overs at the most. Obviously, and West Indies in that test match, the surface I thought was a little slow coming out of Trinidad, and it didn't give the fast bowlers the assistance that we were expecting. And obviously, on those slow tracks, we tend to bat better. Coming out of that first test match, obviously you got batters who score runs, which gives you impetus going into the second test match in Guyana. Now we don't know what type of surface we're going to get in Guyana because that surface or those services were relayed for the T20 World Cup, and we saw how docile and up and down they were. Now it's been a little while since the T20 World Cup, so we're hoping that they have settled. And you don't know what you're going to get, but we would expect that there'll be conditions that are a little better than Trinidad, and that will enable better stroke play from both teams. But obviously, West Indies will go into Guyana knowing that their batters, particularly Alec Anthony's, congratulations to him for batting well, but not going on to get 100. And Kavin Hodge, that middle order. Also, Casey Carty, who was plunked in at number 3, making his debut in Trinidad. At least those 3 batters look the part. We continue to see Craig Brathwaite, our captain, struggle at the top. Mikhail Louis looks good, but going to kick on, he's not going into that next gear. But at least the 3 guys, 3, 4, and 5, look solid. And Jason Hood obviously lending some able support in the batting area. So they can say that their batters have had a good run in Trinidad. And obviously, when you look at our bowling again, Philip, it's going to come down to what combination the selectors feel is right for the pitch at Providence.
You said the batting looks solid in the middle order. Alec Athena's 2 half centuries in his short career so far, and averaging less than 30. You're sure you're satisfied with that?
Yeah, but that is what we are about. Philip, there's no other one you can call on. We all talk about Roston Chase. We all talk about Shea Hope. We talk about even Kyle Mears. But we don't hear from the authorities about these 3 players who we believe can be a certain fit. So Alec Antonaz has been the man who they've been trusted with that middle order job. And he's young in his test career, and he has to be the one that we have to support. And hopefully he will kick on from what we saw in Trinidad. I know inconsistencies has been a big part of our batting. But we are hoping that with all this support staff that is there, that these guys can get to understand to be successful at the international level, you have to be consistent. There have to be an area in which you can build on. And then leaving Trinidad with 2 half centuries, I'm not building from that in Guyana. It's only a couple of days in between. These guys have to start showing the consistencies that is important for us to win test matches. Yes, 2 test match series, Philip, I don't believe in, because it doesn't give the 2 teams a lot of maneuverability. I think the minimum test match series for international cricket should be 3 test matches, where at least you can play around with your 11s. There isn't a lot you can do. So the guys who've started and have done well, you would expect them to kick on. And there's not a lot of breathing space in between the games now. Practice and traveling is very, very minimum in these international cricket series.
One of the concerns I've had over the years, since the days of Lance Gibbs, yes, I said Lance Gibbs, is that West Indies has not made any serious attempt to bring on a spin bowler. It has been a question of choosing a number of guys with long run-ups. And if they happen to hear that a pitch is expected to do something, then they bring in maybe a guy who had the most recent wicket haul in the competition or something. Not surprisingly, he doesn't get the job done and he's dropped. And that has been the pattern for what, 20, 30 years now. Somehow, I maybe was naive enough to think that Moti was going to change all that. Not because of Moti, but because of the wisdom of the selectors in recognizing that they need to choose one, to pick one, invest in a guy. Working is coming to the side now and is totally outbowled Moti. And one of my concerns is that we're going to go back to what we've seen over the last 30 years or so.
Yeah, but the last time we had a spin bowling camp or clinic or spin bowlers attached to West Indies cricket was when Otis Gibson was there. We had Sakler Mustak and we had Mustak Ahmed, the two spinners from Pakistan. They were involved in our cricket. And the wisdom of cricket West Indies, we will never know because we don't sit at that board, in that boardroom to make decisions, cricketing decisions. My thing is that if you're going to invest in spinners, the spinners have to come through the territorial board system. I know the under-19 competition just concluded in St. Vincent. They were given points for leg spinner. But you can't tell me you can just give a guy a ball and tell him bowl back of the arm. And if you go long hop and full toss, he's a leg spinner. I don't think that is the case. You have to work on your slow bowlers. Identify your slow bowlers from the under 15, under 17, under 19 into the under 23 programs if they're such, and work them into our system. You can't tell me that you're just going to pick a man because he took the most wickets. We had Rakeem Cornwall as well. He was also thrown into the deep end, and obviously he was successful at some stages, but then we know what caused him not to be selected. Moti, we thought Moti was improving. We saw him struggle. He went to England. He didn't have a bad series. He missed a test match through illness, but we saw in Trinidad he struggled. Warrington outbowled him. And anybody saying that Warrington would have outbowled Moti would have to be Houdini, but he had a very good game, Jamal Warrington. So is Warrington the number one left-hand spinner, or is Moti still our lead spinner? We have Brian Charles in the squad. Is he capable enough to come into a test match and doing well with all the experience he's had around West Indies 18s and other tours? So the spin bowling department to me is still weak, and that is a territorial board issue that they need to address. How do we get proper spinners, maybe a left arm orthodox, Chinaman, googly leg, break bowler, off break bowler? We need to find those players within the territorial board cricketing systems, if there are such systems in the region.
Agreed. I think though that while we go about the various development programs, and I'm one who is fully on board with that high performance. I'm always talking about that, and also broadening the base as well. But meanwhile, you've got cricket to play, and I actually think that the best option in terms of spin is Roston Chase. But there are those who don't agree. But moving past that particular issue, at least from my point of view, specifically for this particular test match, you talked about the expectations from 3, 4, and 5. But strategically and in terms of maybe manpower selection, what do you think needs to be done for this test?
Well, this test obviously, Philip, that started in Guyana shortly. We have to obviously assess the conditions in Guyana. You have to play to your strengths. I would like to see young Shamar Joseph given the opportunity. I think when you look at what happened in Trinidad, we had 3 attacking bowlers, Jaden Seal and the 2 spinners, because Jason Holder and Roach were not as effective as we thought they would have been, because there wasn't a lot on offer. And I find that when the surfaces are not offering a lot, Roach and Roach and Jason Holder struggle a bit to get the wickets at the rate at which we expect them to get them at. They have to work longer and they have to work harder to get the wickets, so it pushes the test match even deeper. Luckily for us, we missed the first day and we went to 4 days, but they had to work harder for their wickets. They're growing up within their age groups as well. So the more pressure they put on their bodies to get wickets, the recovery period is going to be shorter. So we have to make sure that I would like to see Joseph play. I would like to rest Roach, not get rid of Roach. It has something to offer on cricket. You're not dropping him to finish his career. You're dropping him because you want to win the test match in Guyana. I'm a big believer in winning. I don't believe in drawing nothing. If you can beat people, you beat people. And the best place to beat people is at home, because it gives you confidence. Coming out of Australia early this year, we had the confidence. We went to England and we suffered a humiliating series defeat. We lost all 3 test matches in almost 3 days. But yeah, we're still looking to draw matches. We have to win at home, and we have to get a bowling unit that can take 20 wickets in Guyana that will work for us. I believe that pace can do the trick on some of these slow, docile pitches. Because if you have an attacking fast bowler and he's bowling wicket to wicket with the right line and length, he can pose the problems, and the spinners can be the ones that they take the chances against and get wickets. Because bowling is partnerships. You could have a seam bowler and a fast bowler bowling in tandem and being successful. You could have two spinners, two seam bowlers. So we have to find the pairings that will bring the rewards for us in getting wickets. And in getting wickets, you need the support too of the fielders. And the captain has to be on the same page as the bowlers in order to get the wickets. So it's a whole lot of combinations and ingredients that need to be right. But we all need to be singing on the same page. We need to win that test match. We are 9th in world cricket in the ICC Test Championship. And I'm hearing people say we're going to come up to number 4. Well, I don't know if the others get dropped down. But we need to win matches to get up that ladder. Seeing West Indies at number 9 in Test match cricket, it hurts.
Philo, there's a popular saying, when you start wrong, you end wrong. I'm not suggesting that statement is totally accurate. But I'm going to reintroduce a name again, Roston Chase. To my mind, that solves a lot. And he's not in his squad, but that's why he said when you start wrong, sometimes you really can't pull it back. Because Jason Holder, let's not hide it. Jason Holder is playing in the West Indies team right now primarily as a batsman. Because if you're choosing him as a wicket-taking bowler, but then maybe you're saying things that the rest of us are not saying. All right? So that number 6 position, and I actually think Jason Holder, people are saying he's not good enough to bat at 6. I disagree. His batting record is no worse than the guys batting before him. The only one batting before him, unless you're going to include Casey Carty, who's just started and who is now averaging in the 30s. All right? The only one above him who has a significantly better record, and I'm not sure how significant that is anymore, is Craig Brathwaite, who, when last I checked several weeks ago, was averaging 34. But I suspect that's going to be a lot closer to 30 now. So I can probably safely say that no one in this current side has a significantly better batting record than Jason Holder. How many of them have scored centuries and double centuries? So don't tell me Jason Holder is not good enough to bat at number 6 in the West Indies team. You can tell me that Jason Holder is not good enough to be a typical international number 6. This is a totally different statement. In this West Indies team, as far as I'm concerned, Jason Holder can bat at number 3. But the problem comes where his bowling is not effective. And if you had a Roston Chase in that number 6 position to do the same job that you expect of Jason Holder and even better, you've got a much better bowler deep down, which gives you more options.
But Philip, I agree with you. Nobody has answered the question why Roston Chase is not playing West Indies Test match cricket. And if I would like the question to be answered by the DOC or even the head coach, because if Roston Chase is available to play red ball cricket, he played a few games this year for Barbados and he's done
one game for Barbados and virtually took over the match.
He scored 100 in Trinidad and stuff like that. Then we didn't hear of it again. He's up in Nepal, captain of West Indies, 18 for 5 T20 games. If Roston Chase is available, he should be playing for West Indies in Test match cricket. His demeanor, his whole game, his attitude, his fitness level has gone up. He seems to have a more intentful kind of attitude for cricket. And he's been consistent with his batting, his bowling, but his fielding is going up to another notch as well. So he's ticking all the right boxes, but I don't know what ink they're using because they can't be seeing what we're seeing. Because this is a man who has done wonderfully well years ago in Test match cricket. He had a beautiful start to his career. Yes, his form dipped a bit, but he went and reestablished himself. But yet he cannot find a way in. I asked a question. Has anyone called Roston Chase? Has anyone from Cricket West Indies with authority called Roston Chase to ask him, what is the position? Are you interested in playing red ball cricket? Because he would solve a lot of problems for us. We wouldn't have to play 2 left-arm spinners. Jason Holder can slot down to number 6. Joshua De Silva can slot down to number 8, and you will have a balance.
I think Jason Holder can slot down to number 7 because he's at number 6 now.
Yeah, Jason will slot to number 7. Joshua will slot to number 8, the wicketkeeper. So your batting will be lengthened. And Roston Chase will obviously add the other dimension and strength to your batting and your fielding. So I don't understand who selects West Indies squads and West Indies teams nowadays, because there isn't a clear pathway on who is doing what. Everything is, this might be happening and that might be happening. So I don't even know if there's discussion in selections about certain players. So it is baffling to me why Roston Chase has not been given the opportunity to play red ball cricket again. We can even look at Shea Hope. Has he been spoken to if he's interested in playing red ball cricket? Because you have to speak to these players now, Philip, because of the dynamics of world cricket. When you look around the world, Philip, there are all kinds of white ball series going on, or franchise cricket, where the guys are looking to make a living from. But if we can sit down with them and talk to them and get them to come into our red ball squad when there's a test series, maybe home and away, because we need to play our best test players in order to get the results that we are looking for. Pigeonhole people and ask them to come in and do this job and the next job be at short notice. It's not going to cut it for us. Test match cricket is hard, and the pace at which it is being played at makes it even more difficult for newcomers to fit in.
Philo, well, I'm with you in terms of that strategy. But I'll just say one thing. There was a time when I felt that the players I was not that sympathetic towards the players and the manner in which they I would say use West Indies cricket. Being available when it suits them and so on. That is no longer so with me. In fact, I support them and I encourage more players to even look out for themselves. And I say that because if you look at how players have been treated, and the most recent case we have had, I shouldn't even have to call the name, where you've grown a young man, taking him to Australia, he didn't play. He came back to the Caribbean, didn't set the world on fire, but he did enough in the regional competition that he earned the trip to England, didn't play, and now he is off the radar. Now, if that young man or anybody watching, because you see, we forget sometimes that young people are not like when, I can't say when I think, I mean,
yes,
a bit
when we were younger, yes.
When my older brothers and sisters were younger, it was different because I think maybe young people then were more, subject to being told what to do, if you will. Nowadays, young people ask questions, they observe a lot, and they don't always say what they observe. People are seeing, young cricketers are seeing how other cricketers are being treated. Even those who benefit, Philo, I suggest to you, even those who benefit from the ill treatment of others, recognize this could happen to me. So how can I blame any young cricketer with any sort of intelligence at all for taking opportunities outside of West Indies when they recognize how fickle the West Indies setup can be?
I agree, Philip. And the players have power. And the authorities need to understand that. The players, the modern day players, have power. Even those who don't get players still have power. And it's hurtful for a young man to be taken on 2 tours and not being given opportunity. They stuck this guy at number 3, and he failed 6 innings, and you keep playing him. And then you come back to the region, you drop him, and you drop a guy who did not get a game. My philosophy was for that England tour is if the guy is struggling, you need to play your 3 openers 1, 2, 3. Because in England, that series, we will get maybe a 50 or 60 run partnership, and then we will lose quick wickets. So if you have another opening batter at number 3, who's accustomed to weathering the storm, as they call it, then you still have
and who has experience playing cricket in England.
I hope he played county cricket for one of the better counties in England.
I go further, Philo. I'm not making a case for Mackenzie to have been in the side against South Africa. I'm definitely not doing that. But what has happened has been unfair to him as well. Because you take him to England, you take him to Australia, which is a hard tour, without the adequate preparation. If you look at his involvement in regional cricket prior to that Australian tour, prior to his getting even to the West Indies team, the same thing they're doing with Mikel Louis. You're taking a chance. You're throwing fellas in at the deep end like a popular swim instructor back in the day. All right? I don't know if you know, if you go far enough back to know who I'm talking about.
No.
Okay. Well, there was this swimming instructor who, it was said, would literally throw people in at the deep end.
Does his name begin with A?
His first name begins with
yes.
With. But you're not going to get me before the law court. So I'm not
going to get before the law courts because a lot of people's names begin with A.
But this is true, right? But the point is, you're throwing these guys in at the deep end. So if Mikel Louis scores a century anytime soon, it's going to be, oh, fantastic. And we will believe we've done the right thing. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Louis' performance in the regional competition should have put him in an 18th tour somewhere. Not in the test. But we probably get a little bit too far off track here, because what I really want to say is that Mackenzie went on 2 difficult tours.
Yes.
Didn't do much, which doesn't surprise me because he wasn't prepared for that. I know you're playing at home against South Africa in much, I would suggest, easier conditions than what he would experience in England. And he's not even in this.
Yes. True.
So,
I understand. He's come
so
out of
don't get tired, Philo. Don't get tired. This is not about Zach McKenzie. It is not about. It's not. This is not about Zach McCaskey or Kurt McKenzie.
I
It's not
understand.
just about them. When you treat people in this way, and when people outside, young people, recognize the folly and the chaos, they seek other options, whether those options are in cricket, whether those options are in another sport, or whether those options are based on their academic ability.
Agree. And the players network now, Philip. They talk to each other and they let them know what is going on and what opportunities are out there for them. And these are things that the authorities need to understand. Now, you look at this young man who just came back from England struggling. What is he doing? Has anyone spoken to him and said, well, look, we need you to go and work on ABC. We'll have you on this.
Have a high performance program with a remedial component. So, no, I don't think anyone would have spoken to him. Who has spoken to Shane Hope lost his place in the West Indies team a couple of years back. He played 1 or 2 matches since then, but he was dropped when he was struggling. And nothing has been done about that. So
that is the problem, because Philip, I know within Cricket West Indies there are policies that are saying these are the things that need to be done to keep our good cricketers around and interested in the cricket. But people get into positions and they forget what they have decided to do, and they do things their own way. And doing your things your own way sometimes is detrimental. If there's a policy and a structure, you deal with the policy and the structure. If you want to tweak it, improve it, get the appropriate measures in place to do it. Our cricketers should not be suffering. Even if they get dropped, they should still know, look, we are still looking at you. We're going to help you to develop. That is what territorial boards, all the directors of Cricket West Indies are presidents of these territorial boards. And you are trying to tell me that young men who have been discarded from West Indies cricket are just left in the wilderness to fend for themselves. Those young men should be brought into the system still and playing cricket and being encouraged to get better. Michael Louis would have played for West Indies because he scored the most runs. We had a man here, Telston, may rest in peace, who was a very outstanding batter, a wicketkeeper, got 1 test match in Trinidad, but he kept touring, never got another opportunity. Once you perform at regional level, because of the standard of the territorial, of the regional cricket, the outstanding players will always be selected for West Indies. Mackenzie has played for West Indies on a double hundred in a game called the Best of the Best. It was a waste of 4-day cricket and a waste of time. But he scored a double hundred, and everybody said, yes, this man is ready. And you look at his first-class record, that is the only 100 he has. But he's been plunking at number 3. And you know, Philip, when you bat at number 3 in a cricket team, you're the best batter. You're supposed to be the best batter. If you're wearing a number 10 jersey in a football field, everybody expects you to do what Pele and Maradona would have done. Lionel Messi. So when you put people in certain positions, people's expectations of them are very high. So when Cricket West Indies are looking at these players, they need to understand, and the players need to understand expectations. They expect Mackenzie to go there and light the world on fire, but there's a process. It doesn't happen that way. Ali Antonez has started to show a bit of form, a little consistency. You're seeing some smiles coming back on their faces. So they understand expectation. So these are the things that Cricket West Indies and our territorial boards, along with all those coaches that are being paid, they have to sensitize the players to all of these things. And that is where development is. Development is not going into a net and telling a fellow player cover drive. Development is a wider scope. And that is where we are falling down in cricket in the Caribbean. We don't have the people to develop our cricketers the way they're supposed to be developed. The mental, the physical, the whole entire attitude of the player needs to be redeveloped. If not, we're going to continue to struggle. And as some of the players are saying, some of the players are not interested in red ball cricket because, so we need to find why they don't want to play and get them into the system to play cricket. And that is where we're falling down. Our players don't want to be in the system because of the mismanagement and treatment of the former players.
and some current ones as well. But Philo, there's a friend of ours who has accusing him of sitting on the fence. So I don't know if you will be in a position to accuse, if I'll be in a position to accuse you of that, and if you will then tell others that I've accused you. You're totally confused right now. All I'm going to say to you is, can West Indies win this match and this series? So you can respond to this, or you can sit on the fence.
Well, you can only sit on the fence if you have a seat. Because if you sit on a fence and the kind of fences they have now, you're in trouble before the seat. I believe that West Indies can win this test series against South Africa. I believe they can win this final test match in Guyana. I believe that if we can get the right combination with our bowling and get our batters to continue to show consistency and post good totals, we can put that inexperienced South Africa batting and bowling unit under pressure. I thought that South Africa missed the trick when they played that one spinner Maharaj, because it gave us the opportunity to see what he can do. So I don't think that Maharaj can come with any new tricks in Guyana. The amount of overseas bowling training that he's exposed everything that he can do. And therefore, our management team is thinking they will look to conquer Maharaj, like how the South Africans counter Moti. Put pressure on one bowler, the strike bowler Maharaj, and force the South African captain, Bavuma, to scratch around with the other seamers. Barbados work hard in Trinidad. You need to make it work harder in Guyana and keep their main bowlers down, get a decent total, and get our bowlers to exploit the conditions at Providence and look to beat South Africa. And I believe we can do it, but we have to be smart. I keep using this word in West Indies cricket. We have to be smart. We have to be singing off the same hymn sheet. But we also have to have the players who are going to put in the amount of energy that is required to win in Guyana. It's not going to be easy, but it requires a Herculean effort, and we need to have it.
Philo Wallace, thanks again. Hope to hear from you before the test match is completed. And here's hoping that we have a good test match. And of course, I think we can be forgiven for hoping that the West Indies will come out on top in that match.
And thank you, Philip. All the very best.